We got Gators Breakdown here. We know we're business.
Gators Breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I'm your host, David Waters. You can follow me on social media at GatorDave_SEC, and a jam-packed episode here on the heels of the Florida 2024 fall camp first scrimmage right here. Some news and notes coming from there. And of course, we'll get into some fall camp battles, a couple of weeks from starting fall camp. So some battles are really, something we've highlighted, of course, coming into fall camp, after spring, coming into fall camp. But we'll update some of those and, just really get into some of those really intriguing battles as the Gators get ready for the first game against Miami in just about 3 weeks, of course, and not much longer till kickoff. So hit that like button right here on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube as well, or your favorite podcast platform. All that really, really helps us out. If you want to support even more, of course you can. gatorsbreakdownmerch.com. Get your Beat Miami shirt. Other designs there as well. I see the sales, behind the scenes are starting to add up a bit. Everybody getting ready for that big game. Get your Beat Miami shirt. Order it just in time for the game now. This is a custom shirt, so it will take a little bit to get to you. So if you're interested, make sure gatorsbreakdownmerch.com. Get your Beat Miami shirt. And then, of course, hey, look, some new members there at Gators Breakdown Plus as well as we get closer to the season. I'll be holding a chat sometime this week as well for Gators Breakdown Plus members. Get those extra episodes during the season. Ad-free episodes is another big plus for Gators Breakdown Plus. Link is in the description. So, all right, let's get to it. Scrimmage. Let's get to the scrimmage there on Saturday for the Gators. And look, have to point out, the media access was before the scrimmage. Very short, not much happening. So, of course, media is not allowed. So the info coming in, all secondhand info from trusted sources and all the reports out there, all the reports that have been out there 24/7, on 3, all that, even more that I've seen, that I've been told, matching in a lot of the same info, some as well from sources, sending it my way. So let's get into it. Of course, the big news was coming out. Nose tackle Jamari Lyons, unfortunately, looks to have suffered a pretty severe injury, leg, ankle. We'll see. He needed an air cast put on, was in surgery on Saturday as well. So certainly probably out an extended amount of time. We'll hear more from Billy Napier on Monday. He'll hopefully give us an update on maybe a timeline and more info on Jamari Lyons. So it happened pretty early in the scrimmage. Was said to shake up the team pretty bad. So, for players and fans, injuries are going to happen. It's just part of football, but stings nevertheless when they happen. It's coming. What's going to happen. But unfortunately, certainly for Jamari Lyons, it happened early in the scrimmage. The teammates were really, rallying around him, shook them pretty hard from everything we could gather. So got to move on. So we'll look at it now from the pure football side of this. And it stings because I was expecting a big year from Lyons because, I forgot who posted it on Twitter, but it was like, who was a player that we don't hear much from that you expect a big year out of. And my pick was Jamari Lyons. And that was just last week that I put that out there. We're hearing a lot of good things. I was, to me personally, just for me now, I was almost going to call him a 1B at nose tackle to the 1A of Cam Jackson. That's how good info I was getting for Jamari Lyons and what he was putting together. He put together a nice spring and a nice offseason. The staff really liked where he was at coming into fall camp. He was going to be at least a big contributor. And like I said, for me, I was putting him a 1B to Cam Jackson. Cam Jackson still being that starter, still taking the starting reps, but wasn't going to be much of a fall off of performance in my eyes. I like what I saw from Jamari Lyons last season as well. And I was labeling him as a guy that could take that next step. Flashed as someone who could cause havoc from the middle. So now for the Gators, the question becomes depth at nose tackle. Of course, it starts with Cam Jackson. And now Des Watson will be counted on more. He had a really good scrimmage from what I was told. Quote, Des was a wrecking ball today. Lots of tackles for loss in the quote. So we certainly hope that play, that transfers and all that play translates for Des Watson. But of course, the question for Watson will always be, how many snaps can he give you? How many plays can he be a viable option there? And if he has to play more, can he play more at a high level? Jackson's snap count, you think, will certainly rise now, but can Watson handle more? And I think that's a huge question for him. But if he had that performance in the scrimmage, like we're being told, hopefully that translates game in and game out and can put more of those type of snaps on the field. Not just playing more snaps, but high quality snaps. But after Jackson Watson now, there's no experience. And guy at community college transfer, Tavares Brown, he just got on campus. Probably asking a lot for him to be ready. But we'll see. We'll see. Then have to turn to freshman Mekhi Burrow, maybe DeAndre Robinson at that position as well for more snaps. Now, of course, Cam Jackson's health is paramount for this position to succeed. You got to have him on the field, or you're turning the page to Des Watson and a lot of inexperience. Des Watson's got to stay healthy as well as being the next experienced player at the spot. Cam Jackson, Des Watson, your experience, not much behind those guys. On obvious passing situations, go situational football here. You can probably slide Caleb Banks inside, maybe even Joey Slackman. He's a little on the lighter side, but that really strong type of player, but only in passing situations. Don't see it anywhere else. Caleb Banks maybe more. You might can slide him. I can see Banks sliding over more because of the injury to Lyons. Still only situationally, not a whole lot of snaps there. I think also because he'll be playing well at defensive end, so I don't think you want to take him away from there. You do have Slackman, Kelby Collins. If those guys can prove there's little to no drop off at defensive end, then I can see Banks sliding over to help out when and if needed. You hope he's not needed as much there, because I like what he's probably going to provide at end. But certainly maybe a shuffling of the pieces right here along the defensive front. Look, injury's going to happen. We know. But I do feel like this one position, this hurts a little bit more than most of the others would, I think. But at the same time, no alarm bells for me. I don't think it should really change the outlook of the team. Whatever your thoughts were about Florida before this should probably be the same after this. So I do think Florida's defense would be better with Lyons, but hard to say, this loss quantifies wins and losses. It shouldn't. It really shouldn't. But another injury there certainly would. And if you have to turn the page to a lot of young guys, it certainly would. But, I think the first severe major injury, we had Montrell Johnson last week, not thought to be severe. Maybe back for game 1 versus Miami. We'll see. If not, maybe only missing the first few games. But we'll be back, certainly at some point. Lions, we're going to wait to hear and see. But it certainly, as of Sunday, doesn't sound good. We'll hear more from Billy Napier on that one on Monday. So, all right, let's turn the page. Let's get to more scrimmage notes. And some also will be sprinkled in when we discuss those position battles that we go to. But at the scrimmage, quarterbacks were solid for the most part. Mertz having the most consistent day, throwing 1 touchdown to Arlis Boardingham, who had a pretty good day as well. Lagway was with the second team and did offer some explosive plays with wide receiver Tank Hawkins. And that duo coming along nicely. A pretty good duo. And there we go. Got the sinus problems again. Allergy problems there. Hey, this usually happen until I come on air. I mean, no issues at all this morning. Of course, it hit me now. Anyway, the duo, Tank Hawkins, DJ Lagway, second team offense. Pretty big day. Pretty big day for that. But DJ Lagway taking the necessary steps. Certainly looked better in the first scrimmage than he did in the spring scrimmages, and you would expect that. A lot more experience there. Certainly looks like he's grabbing a hold of the experience that he's been able to gather spring, early part of fall camp. It was a big day for the running backs, with Montrell Johnson not taking part in the scrimmage, of course, due to his injury. Jacoby Jackson may have stole the day at the position, putting up a couple of big runs, and just an aggressive nature with the ball in his hands. Have also been told that Katie Daniels may have had the best day out of the running back. So that's what we're saying. Different sources, different reports. You may hear this eye of the beholder, right? Some say this guy's going to look better. Some may say that guy looks better. At the running back spot, Jacoby Jackson was one. Katie Daniels was the other. That may have had the best day in the group. He had a few long runs. Traylon Webb, Jaden Ball all had their moments as well. So a pretty good day for the running back group as a whole. For this first scrimmage, more about Daniels and Jackson, but that's only one example. I wouldn't go too much by this. But, as your ultimate determining factor, yes, scrimmages mean a whole lot, but just still one event to happen in fall camp. Let's go to the offensive line. Looks better on the left side than the right side. Cam Waite's not able to take part in the scrimmage with a minor injury. That shouldn't keep him out for long. We'll get more to the offensive line in a bit. Wide receivers, Marcus Burke, Aiden Mizell with some downfield catches. Burke with a few, actually. Elijah Badger also had an impressive day at the receiver spot. So certainly a group feel much better about, once Badger had come into the rotation. This wide receiver, if we go back to spring, was a worry for me. As far as his playmaking ability, giving Trey Wilson some help, still needed that outside threat. Once Florida brought in Badger, I think it just helps the whole room. Hearing good things about that group too. K-Jack as well. Don't look over him. Don't look over him. But at the same time, those were a few of the highlights from the wide receiver spot. Other side of the ball, big day up front for Tyreek Sapp, as I mentioned earlier, Des Watson as well. We'll hear more from Sapp later on this episode. His competition with Justice Boone, really good stuff there at the edge F spot. Kelby Collins, his name came up for having a nice day. Searcy and Gums as well at the edge spot, so the edge jack spot. So certainly sounds like, of course, we got to take the good and the bad. If the defensive line has a good day, what does that mean for the offensive line? Vice versa, all these matchups. So we'll see, but certainly sounds like the defensive front had a pretty good day. At linebacker, Jamar James looks like what we would expect him to look like. But it sounds like on the defense, the highlights come from the defensive side of the football. Safeties, Jordan Castell, Asa Turner being mentioned as having good days, along with corner Devin Moore. Castell had a pick and a pass breakup, while Asa Turner showed great pursuit and tackling on the plays in front of him. Certainly love hearing that. Too many times against a safety last year, maybe a one-on-one situation where the safety wouldn't come up, make a tackle, or had to let the play come to them, still miss a tackle. Great to hear Castell making plays, with the pick and the pass breakup, but Asa Turner coming up and making hits, making tackles. A physical presence back there that you hope he brings for that safety room. And hopefully we continue to hear more about Devin Moore, as it means that he's on the field and making the most out of it. He just continues to show what we know he can be as long as he's out there. I think we've all loved what we have seen and heard from Devin Moore in his first couple of seasons, except the fact that he can't be on the field good in a scrimmage situation. That he's showing that as long as he's on the field, he's going to be making some plays. So there we go. That's it for the short scrimmage. Notes, intel from there. Just one, as I said, just one part of fall camp. I know a lot of people are going to put a lot of weight on it, but still just one data point, if you want to call it, one event in fall camp that you got to take into consideration. All right, so let's keep it going. Let's talk some position battles. And we'll start with Billy Napier. And just overall. And we've hit on this. He's hit on this. But now, about halfway through fall camp, let's hear from Billy Napier on the competition and battles that are happening in fall camp.
Literally, there are some positions on our team where it is daily adjusted. Who's in the front of the line? Who's getting the reps with the first team? We're talking there's probably only a handful of positions where there's an established starter on our team, right? So that's producing, it's there's some intensity, there's some urgency, and they know, right? You just look at that edge group, for example, okay, the number of players that we think are capable of impacting our team in that room. That room right now, it's extremely competitive. But I would tell you that their practice habits have been impressive to watch. So part of that is they're competing their tail off the opportunity to run out there and play for the Gators. So we have a lot of that, throughout the team, and I think that's healthy for the team.
look, through the transfer portal, through spring practice, we've been hitting on it. Everybody's been hitting on it. There certainly is more competition and more depth on this team compared to Napier's first couple of seasons. And we'll now, we'll translate that to some battles to watch through fall camp. Some may cause concern. Some are just competitive battles between a group of good players. So let's start at the edge F spot. We'll hear from Billy Napier and Tyreek Sapp on this, but Billy Napier was asked on Tyreek Sapp and Justice Boone, their relationship and them as leaders. Billy Napier says, Sapp and Boone were here when we first got here. Both have been awesome, and they have great practice habits. They bring energy. They've got personality that I think rubs off on the team and the group, and they do just that. So here's more from Napier on the competition between those two guys and others at the F spot.
Those two have been in the trenches together for a couple of years now, right? So they're doing a good job. And reality is they're competing, right? They're in scenarios where they're competing. So both those guys are two of our guys that provide a good example. They have character. And we need more of them. I think ultimately that room right now, if you look at it, it's probably the most competitive group on our team. And those young players are a factor. So they're doing a good job in that regard.
It is certainly welcome news that Tyreek Sapp had a great first scrimmage. And, for him, after having to slide over and take over for Boone late in last year's fall camp, he's been able to have now that entire offseason training for this role in the defense. The staff loved where Boone was at in this role before the injury last season. So, I do think this position will be much improved because you have these two competing, a friendly competition, and there may be little to no drop-off. You certainly hope it is better and more consistent than it was last season, now being able to throw at least two bodies at it that have experience playing in this defense. Boone did miss last year, but did play a good bit 2 seasons ago. As I said, staff liked where he was at last year. But for now, this position, lined up opposite of the Jack, needs to be able to provide a more consistent pass rush as well. Sapp didn't have much help last season. He does now. Here's Sapp on his relationship with Boone and also the young guys, Cam James and L.J. McCray.
Me and Boone have been close since the day we got here. We've been talking since before we got here, and we've seen it all. We've seen the ups and the downs, and we've been able to experience everything up until now. And me and him have been so close, and we kind of remind each other of ourselves. And that was one thing that was so big when I met him. Like, he reminded me of me, and he almost saw a mirror image of him and me. So me and him just been so close from working our way out of scout team together, and like being able just to see hard times together, and then having fun together as well, just building a relationship. Like, that's my brother, and I wouldn't trade him for nothing in the world. And we just been through so much, and he knows my family, I know his family, so everything with him is always personal, and I always have love, and I always have gratitude for him. I'm grateful for him even last year, even though he wasn't able to contribute. I was just grateful for him being there, supporting, even though he wasn't able to physically contribute. He actually contributed almost more than some guys that actually played. So it's like we've gotten so close, it almost became like a telepathic relationship. Like, it's crazy. Like, when he gets on the field, I feel like I can almost see what he's about to do, and like I can kind of feel me playing through him. And I just love it when he's out there because me and him give that same ethic. He goes hard, he has motor, and he understands the game. As we are veterans now, so we understand the game more. So when I see things, little things, he see them too, and we be like, yeah.
Point last year, just how much more comfortable do you feel in your position? How much knowledge do you think you gained from?
I feel like I gained a lot of knowledge, but I feel like I've just been trying to push myself just to bring other people with me, because I understand, like, not so much from a talent standpoint, but you can climax in your potential. Not saying I have, but I've just been working on me myself, just trying to bring everybody else with me, because I understand we only strong as our weakest link. So I need everybody to be with me. I know I'm on the train. I know when the boat. I know when the ship leaves the dock, I'm on the ship. So I just want everybody else to be on the ship, and that was my main thing. LJ's still coming along, and LJ's just so raw. Sometimes he gets out of himself because it's college football, so everything is schematic and everything has to fall into place. Sometimes he gets caught up because he's a natural freak, so he doesn't need a scheme to actually affect the game. Like, he can affect the game just by him being him. So, and then with Cam Cam's a freak too. Like I wish I had that size. I wish I had that wingspan and that height. So, but he's came along so far, and just the progress that they have, that they get, it just motivates me to keep going every day. So, I just love those two guys.
Love hearing Sapp saying he wants to bring along the young guys because they'll be needed at times this season. I really do believe that. As high as I am on Sapp and Boone together, going to have to get some young guys into the rotation, get them experience, but also some talent there. You know, James is in his second season. Well, we all know the talent McCray brings. He did. Going back to the scrimmage, McCray did get some first-team reps in the scrimmage, but mostly playing with the backups, but did give him a shot there. Apparently, was in the backfield, had a sack. This spot needs to step up. You know, overall, edge overall does. No matter if it's the F or the Jack, Florida needs to create more pressure, havoc, sacks, however you want to define it. Florida needs more of it. You know, all of it. You got vets, you have young talent at the spot, and maybe even the high upside of someone like a George Gums. So deeper at the F, need more proven at Jack to replace Princely, more consistent player than Princely as well. So I do think a better group overall. Now just it's time to go do it. I think you're deeper at the F, edge, with the Jack linebacker spot. Got to replace Princely, of course. You know, can Searcy step up and do that? Can George Gums step up and do that? I mean, for all the Princely's faults, was still the more consistent pass rusher, but also inconsistent overall. So it's a catch there. You need these players to be more consistent overall, but also step up the consistency as a pass rusher, a reliable player in this defense up front. Some of the big plays last season were because Princely trying to do too much, not trying to play his assignment, but at the same time was still the guy that could get in the backfield. So let's keep it on. We'll go to the other side of the ball here. We'll go to the offensive line. Now, it's probably the one group that I've been asked about the most coming from the scrimmage, and that's the offensive line. Let's hear what Napier had to say on that group in his last press conference and where they were heading into the scrimmage.
There's competitive depth there. That's the one thing I would tell you. I've been impressed with the way they had answered the challenge. A couple days ago, I'd say 3 practices back, we struggled a little bit up front, you know, and then I think we challenged that group, and I think they put 2 good days back to back. You know, in particular, 2 practices ago, practice 5, I thought they were lights out. But we've got a very capable group there. You know, I mean, I think we've got really good leadership in that room. There's some good young talent. We need to get Caden Jones and Fletcher back out there. That'll help us. We should get those guys back here pretty soon. But yeah, no, I've got a ton of confidence in that group. Coach Sale, Coach DeCoster, they'll do what they do. I think we made great strides in the spring. You know, that's the body of work to go along with what we've observed so far. It's very competitive in there is what I would tell you. Like, you know, what combination of players are going to run out there first, who, at what positions. You know, I think that there's a ton to be competed for in that room.
Good to hear that offensive line bounced back from a rough start, and usually the defense is ahead of the offense early in camp, so not really a huge surprise there. You heard Napier mention getting Caden Jones back, Fletcher Westfall back. That's going to be big. Jones is just now getting back and was at the scrimmage yesterday. Westfall in a non-contact jersey as he recovers as well. Cam Waits missed scrimmage with a minor setback. Should be back full go soon. But from what I'm hearing, we need Jones and Waits full go ASAP to help push that right side. Let's go back to when I asked for questions for fall camp, and I'm going to squeeze this one in right here. And this was from Florida Hell. Those guys do great work at that site. And they asked, last year, most from the outside assumed Kamari Wilson would be a starter heading into fall camp until he wasn't. Is there anyone people assume is going to be a starter that is at greater risk for being beat out than we realize? Well, I'm going to go to the right side of the offensive line here for that one. Now that question just in general, I think is tough. With that question, you kind of have to search for an answer here, but where I'm going to search is going to be along the offensive line. I don't know if there really is a situation like that, but if I had to pick one, I'm going to go the right side of the offensive line. I was actually torn between offensive line and nose tackle. Cam Jackson wasn't going to lose his job, but I thought Lyons would push for more reps. But now, of course, that doesn't sound like it's going to happen. So it's clear to me now, if I was going to look for a situation very similar to safety last year, to me, the answer involves the offensive line. The right side of the offensive line needs to be further along. That's what I'm being told. Now, I know some people are going to say that's sounding the alarm or maybe an unnecessary alarm. It's early in fall camp. You're not going to be further. You're not going to be along in some spots. I'm just saying right now, from what I'm hearing, the right side needs to be further along. Doesn't mean they can't get better. Doesn't mean they won't get better. It's still early in fall camp, but they need to be further along. Got Cam Waits, swing guy for both guard and tackle. For right now, it's Damian George at right guard, Brendan Crenshaw-Dixon at right tackle. Need to be further along. Cam Waits maybe back up for both those guys right now. Roderick Kearney's coming along at a rate where he could be pushing Damian George at right guard. At right tackle, Brendan Crenshaw-Dixon not coming along as fast as from what I'm being told. So take it however you want. Caden Jones is a name that's coming up. It was coming up before fall camp started. Can or will he push Brendan Crenshaw-Dixon? And what does it mean? Certainly a good sign if a 4-star offensive lineman that you recruited in his second season is proving he belongs on the field. But Crenshaw-Dixon does have a lot of snaps at San Diego State, and the hope was, he would provide a starter at the position when you went and got him in the transfer portal. But I think Waits, he's also a name to watch for both of the spots, as I mentioned. But if a change is going to happen at either spot, Jones and Waits need to be on the field as much as possible in fall camp right now. Those guys haven't been, have missed some time. They need to be on the field as much as possible to provide that competition. I certainly would like to see players this staff recruited take over, but I'd like for it to be because the competition was at a better level, at a top level. I'm not sure that's what's happening here, but that also doesn't mean those guys won't be the better options. So as fall camp progresses, this is mountain. It's my top concern for this team. I know it was already for some of you out there, but this is now, for me, my top concern. My top two concerns are pretty much battles we've discussed here, offensive line and edge. But, I tweeted before I recorded this episode, wide receiver, least of my concerns now. Offensive line, I'm much more concerned. And look, that's because I was putting this group at a pretty high level. Coming out of, with what you did in the transfer portal, with what you did in spring and getting a lot of reps for Crenshaw-Dixon and Devin Manuel because of some injuries up front to Cam Waits and Austin Barber. So I was putting this group at a high level. Is the concern now time to raise the alarm bells? No. As I said, it's still early. But it's not my top concern right now. And as I said, for many of you, it was already a concern. Now, certainly, this would have offensive line, yes, it was a concern. Always for me. Wasn't at the top of my list for a while because I think I was pretty high on the transfers. Those guys getting snaps. But, here's some concern on the right side. Yeah, it pings, but there's still time to figure it out. So one name I brought up, and we got to hear from last week, that's Austin Barber, the left tackle. So let's hear from him on his return and some of the other guys and those battles at offensive line.
I feel great. I mean, I was injured during the spring, really got my body right, and I'm feeling great. I'm rolling out there. I'm having fun again. It's fun to be out there, healthy and, being out there with all the guys. In spring it was hard watching them doing it, but now that I'm in there with them, it's more fun.
Last year, when you were playing through your injuries, how hard, I know you're not trying to make an excuse, but how hard was it to play through what you were going through just physically? Yeah,
it was hard, but I know people play through them all the time. I don't want to make an excuse like that. I'm not trying to make an excuse, but, it was rough sometimes going out there, but I went out there and put my body on the line for the team like I've always said and always trying to do for, the Gator Nation and my teammates.
As a leader on this offensive line, and given how important Graham is, how much are you taking ownership of pass protection and that aspect of things?
Yeah, it's keep Graham up. That's our main goal is when he's up, he can make some plays, and it's our job to keep him clean, keep his jersey clean in the games, and I think we're doing a good job with that. We're battling out there. We're having some practice with that.
How do you see the competition going to the tackle spot so far?
Oh, it's going good. It's going great. We're all pushing each other. I mean, it's competitive out there, and I love it. I mean, it's great to have guys that are pushing each other, working hard, and it's been really good.
I know you entered the starting lineup as a second-year guy, but do you feel like more of a leader now on this team, now going into your fourth season?
I do. I got a lot of we're kind of young. We got some young guys behind us, and I want to be able to help them just like Richard Garage did with me. Like I want to pour into some of these guys, and I'm trying to, and things like that. But I want to be the guy that like Richard Garage was to me.
We've seen Ron Kearney kind of cross-training. He moved to center as a freshman. I think he was a guard in high school, playing a little bit of right guard. How have you seen him kind of be able to balance and play both?
Yeah, I mean, Rod works hard. I don't even know someone that works as hard as him. He puts his head down and grinds. Like he does so much stuff, and he's deserving of the cross training. He's put in the work and done a great job with everything. So he's been doing good with that.
How's Cam doing? Cam Williams?
He's doing good. Yeah, like he's working hard. He's competing with all of us, and coming out there working hard and putting his head down.
Cross training too as well.
Yes.
Crenshaw Dixon, what do you see from him?
A guy that put his head down and works. I think we have a group that works hard. I'll know that. I think we're going to be. They work so hard and everything like that. Just going out there, competing, battling, working like everything. So.
What has Caden Jones done this offseason to develop his game and put himself in a position to contribute for you guys?
Yeah, I think just getting bigger, faster, stronger. I mean, he's a guy that he's long, athletic, can move, can bend, and in his second year, I mean, he's putting on with the weight program and all that stuff. He looks good.
Look, like Barber said, they are young behind that first group. Some talent there, but no experience. I think you certainly need Barber, Harris, Slaughter on that left side to stay healthy, for that left side to stay at a higher level of play. You can add transfer Devin Manuel in there as well. Got all those snaps in the spring, as I said, while Barber was nursing his left arm after that surgery. But after that, the Gators are really young. For Barber, can he pick up where he left off 2 seasons ago? Played injured last season and was really inconsistent because of it. Not all his fault, of course, but he stuck with it until he couldn't. Had off-season shoulder surgery, missed spring. So he needs to look like that player we thought we were going to get last season. Also switched sides last season. Remember, he went from right tackle to left tackle. So hopefully all the experience pays off. The experience, being healthy, and we get that Austin Barber we expected to see last year. And look, overall, kind of in this offensive line talk, I don't think the group will be worse than it was last season. I'm pretty sure it won't. But probably not taking the steps where I think they'll be much better. I think they will be better. I still think this offense can do some good things. This offense did some good things last year with a pretty bad offensive line. Go back to spring and all my talk there, and I like getting the transfers, the creating the depth that they brought, the creating competition that they brought. And I still think the outcome of that is going to be a better offensive line. Maybe it won't reach the level I thought it could at one point, but I do believe they will be a better group. Got a second-year quarterback. Got a deep group of running backs. I feel really good about wide receiver now. And that was a concern of mine. Remember, before Elijah Badger came in, all spring long, I was pretty concerned for that group. And we got Badger. Feel better there. And just throughout fall camp early on, a pretty deep group, I think, at wide receiver. So certainly, I still think some time through fall camp to identify, have some competition at offensive line, and still be a better group than they were last season. This team is not going to be great in every group. We know that by now. And this might be a group you have to overcome a bit. But I think if they are better than they were last year, given everything else around them, this can still be a pretty good offense. And look, they're going to have their good games. I mean, in game one, we're going to see. We're going to get a lot of answers. That Miami front's pretty good. We'll get a lot of answers about this offensive line. And hopefully, next week, the week after that, the week leading up to that game, I'm starting to hear some better things about this offensive line group. It's still early on. I'm not expecting to hear great things for every position group going through fall camp. This is not an ultimate determination of how they're going to be. All right, let's keep it going before we end this episode right here of Gators Breakdown. Another battle, and one I'm looking forward to. I think it's going to produce a pretty good player. That's that nickel star. Here's Napier on that battle when asked about Aaron Gates.
Very competitive at the star position. You know, he's in the thick of it here. It was great for him to get 4 games of experience. He played a little bit on special teams. Aaron's a young player this is his first shot, first go-round, right? And he's right in the middle. Every day for him is critical. There's some competitive matchups in the slot. That's a very important piece to our defense. That player is involved in a major way with the run fit and the coverage. So you got to be a smart player. Sharif Denson's also at that position, and there's a ton of competition. But look, he's tough. He's competitive. He comes from a great family. His mom and dad are some of my favorite people in the entire world. And I think that this is his time, right? It's what he came here for, right? So it's right there in front of him. He and Sharif alike, they're going to be very important players in that defense this year.
Look, I'm still hearing it's Sharif Denson leading that battle for now, but it's a true battle. It is a true battle here. Gates had an interception in the scrimmage off DJ Lagway. And this is one I feel the competition will produce a pretty good player at the spot. Both will play, and maybe even DJ Douglas, Triquez Bridges, Asa Turner getting situational looks at that position. But for the most part, it is Sharif Denson and an Aaron Gates battle. Both are athletic enough for the position. But as you heard Napier say, you have to have a good bit of run defense assignments in this spot as well. So tackling physicality must be there from this position. And I know Sharif Denson has it, covering him here in Jacksonville at Bartram Trail. He loves the physicality, doesn't shy away from it. And I'm not saying Gates doesn't. I just know Sharif Denson embraces it. I know much more about Sharif Denson, being here locally in the Jacksonville area with him playing at Bartram Trail and going back and watching him play. Yes, he doesn't shy away from contact. As I said, embraces it. So I think, if Aaron Gates if this is a true battle, like I'm hearing, that means Gates is probably doing those same things as well. And as I said, produced an interception in the scrimmage. So I think a really good battle. Florida's going to get a good player out of this one. We will discuss wide receiver. As I said, feel better about that group, but I still think it's a position battle. Trey Wilson, Chimere Dike, your top 2 right now. I think there's a good battle going on for that third receiver. Burke, Badger, Jackson. Excuse me. It's a group I feel better about after the transfers and once fall camp has started. Much less concerned about that group since fall camp has started. So we'll get into that next episode. K-Jack talked to the media as well. And maybe we'll hear some more from Billy Napier Monday from the scrimmage. But as I said, it was a pretty good day for the receiver group as a whole in that first scrimmage. We'll hear what Billy Napier has to say. We'll get into that third receiver spot in the next episode as well. All right, so that'll do it for this episode of Gators Breakdown. I am your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. Guys and girls out there, thank you for joining me on this episode of Gators Breakdown.